Hello and welcome back to another beginner-friendly acrylic painting lesson. Today we're going to do something a little different. Bold, brilliant color and a big beautiful tree. So let's get started. These are our three colors, the same three colors we always use. Quinacridone magenta, benzimidazzolone yellow, and phthalo blue green shade. These are all in your description, of course. We're also going to have some titanium white. We always need a fair amount of that. And we may need some glazing liquid to keep things workable. We're going to work with some really fun color today. This is not what we would call local color. Local color means the way things really look. We're going to use some crazy colors today, kind of like the Fauves or the Post-Impressionists did. You'll see. Let's start with our sky. We're going to have a bright pink sky. You know I love bright pink skies. I'm going to take a little bit of my Quin magenta and a lot of my titanium white to get myself a nice bright pink going. I'm going to lay that down up here. Little pink on this side. And then let's warm it up a little bit on the other side. I'm going to come pretty far down here, like so. I'm using my number 8, and I think I'm going to switch over to the number 12. Let's use the number 12. That covers a little bit more ground. So let's go get our pink, get that nice and covered. A little bit more. Now I'm going to add a little bit of benzimidazzolone to that to just warm it up. Move it right into that pink that's already there. Just gives us a little bit of shift in color. Let's make sure that's covering. Now both of these pigments are transparent pigments. So you want to make sure they cover well. And that titanium white is really good for that. Wipe my brush. And pick up a little more Quin magenta, a little more titanium white, and just come back in here and blend. I'm not putting any glazing liquid into the paint because I want these to dry pretty quickly. Okay, now let's put in a little impression of a hill in the background, just something really soft. I'm going to go for kind of a purple. Let's grab a little bit of the phthalo, a little of that Quin magenta, and you'll notice I didn't wash my brush. I almost never wash my brush, truth be known. Let's go right in here into that pink that we had going on. We'll just put the sort of the indication of a hill back there. Just enough shift in the color so that it looks like we've got a little bit of a hill in the background there. Okay, wipe my brush again. In the foreground, we're going to have some really yummy warm earth colors, and you see how using my dirty brush, it mutes down that yellow, which is just what we want. We want a kind of a muted yellow. Having a dirty brush, I'm telling you, is a really good thing most of the time. Every once in a while I wash my brush, but not too often. It just really makes for very nice muted colors. Look at that gorgeous muted yellow I've got. Let's have a little bit of titanium white into that and a little bit more of that yellow. And I'm just creating this sort of landscape here, just really loosely. The star of the show is going to be our tree. So you don't need to spend too much time working on the landscape. We will do some more things after we paint our tree, but that gives us a little bit of a landscape to work on. Okay, now we need everything to be really, really dry. So if you've been watching any of my other videos, you'll know that we're going to put this aside for about 5 minutes, let everything get nice and dry. You can put a cool hair dryer on your painting. Don't use a hot one, or you can just put it in front of a fan. So pause your video for 5 minutes and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Now here comes the star of the show, this big, beautiful tree that we're going to paint. And it is going to be a lot of fun in really gorgeous colors. So let's take our paint pen and just kind of sketch things in. That gives you a good idea of where things are going to be. I'm using the Posca paint pen, and this is a medium tip. So I'm just going to start right here in the center. I'm going to have a great big tree. This is going to be the tree trunk right here, nice and big. And we might have a companion piece to it. Let's put another trunk back over here. It's going to be a little bit darker and a tiny bit smaller. So that's our tree trunks. We're going to have the tree foliage is going to come out here like so, and over here, and all the way out here. We're going to use up most of the space for this gorgeous big old tree. So we'll just have that kind of foliage there. Have a little bit of dark in here as well. Okay, that just gives us kind of a roadmap. Now let's start with our tree. I'm going to use my number 8, and we're going to start with some darks. It's always a good thing to get those darks in first. So let's get a nice purple going. Nice dark purple. I'm going to make sure my brush has no water in it. And I'm going to paint in some nice darks. Just establish a few nice darks and let them be kind of sparse. And don't worry if you get too many darks in there, don't worry. We can always come back and put light on top of it. Okay? But that will give you the foundation for your big, beautiful tree. Okay, I think that's pretty good as far as darks go. All right, I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going to make a light blue. I'll take a little bit of the phthalo and quite a bit of the titanium white. And I want it just a little bit cooler than that. So I'm going to put just a tiny, tiny bit of the Quin Magenta in it. I'd like to shift it over into sort of a blue-violet. And let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. So we're going to lay that down. And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't really matter how you lay it down right now because we're going to come back and paint our way into it. So there's a lot of room to make mistakes at this point. You don't have to worry about the shape being perfect or anything like that. And as I'm looking at this, I realize I forgot something very important. I forgot to do the dark between the two trunks. So I'm going to come back in with my dark and get that dark in there between those two trunks. That's pretty important. Right there. Okay. Now back to our light color. And you'll notice I did not put my brush in the water when I did that. I didn't need to. I just went right to the dark color and pulled it in. And that's fine. Let's get that just a little bit more purple. Okay. Just gonna put these lights in here. We haven't done our tree trunks yet, but we will. I'm I've got this big, beautiful blue tree. Getting a little bit darker color. Let's add a little bit of titanium white to that. Down here, these are going to be quite a bit lighter. And let's keep building our tree out here. And I know trees aren't blue. I know that. But you know, as a painter, that's the great thing about being a painter. You can make trees any color you want. And if you look at some of the Fauve painters, you look at Matisse, look at many of those painters, and you will see that they didn't care about what something really looked like either. They were more concerned with eliciting a response than they were with painting something exactly the way it looked. Okay. I think we've got a good handle. I'm going to put a little bit more foliage here. Looks like we need a little bit more of that. Let's try a little bit more over here. And you'll see I'm not really worried too much about what the shape of the tree is right now, because we're going to come back and reshape it with a little subtraction, which is kind of a cool thing to do. So I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. I think our tree's looking pretty good, considering what we're going to do next. Let's have a little connection here between these pieces. Okay, kind of looks like a big blue blob right now, but it won't for long. Now I'm going to go to my number 6, and I'm going to pick up some of this light purple. I'm going to get a little bit lighter here. Going to give it some tree trunk here. Let's go a little bit lighter. Really want it down here. The other tree trunk I'm going to paint very dark. It's back here. Okay, see just a little bit of our tree that needs some attention. Right here and here. Go a little bit darker there. Okay, good. All right, that's the basis for our tree. Now, I want this to be dry. I'm going to take about a 2-minute drying time on that. Be right back in 2 minutes.